Hello, welcome to CLSP Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. I usually don't do polling videos back to back because I usually kind of let the polling data build up and then I'm like, here you go, this is what's happened in the last 5 days. So much data has dropped in the last 24 hours. It was like I've got a whole show just for polling, and if I wait 3 more days, it's gonna be ridiculous. So as to keep these videos down to like 5 to 10 minutes, which is what I kind of promised you guys, this is where we're at. and there's some real interesting revelations going on here. First off, let's get started. Okay, this is, I think, and I've brought it up a bunch of times. I truly do think this is going to be one of the bigger issues that are gonna define this race. And it's been, when I'm asked by clients, "What's our best strategy?" I'm like, row, row, row your way to November, because if you're under the age of 50 and you're a female, uh, the majority of Republican women think it's a big deal. They oppose states taking over the control of women's internal organs, and then everyone else by an enormous majority. In fact, who are these 15% of women Democrats? Anyway, but yeah, it's insane. The math is crazy. So I always tell actually, when we were in Virginia doing state level races last November, if you go look at all the commercials that were run, it was all this. We took 4 out of 5 state house seats that hadn't been even looked at by Democrats in decades. So this is a really big deal. I think, this one piece of data explains what the number one issue really is. So then I started noticing a ton of data coming in from Florida. I think I'm going to go through a bunch of Florida polls here. Okay, in this business, when you're doing campaign work and you're doing field and you're looking at trends, polling costs money. Just like everything in campaigns, polling costs money, and no one's spending money unless they have to in campaigns. They tend to only no one gambles, put it that way, or they don't like to. Sometimes they do when they're forced to, but no one's being forced to. There's a lot of field out there. There's a lot of states in play, but somebody's been sniffing around Florida and somebody's seeing some blood in the water with the Republicans. So I'm seeing a lot of polling coming out of Florida. I'll go over some of it. Some of the sample sizes aren't that great yet, but they're trending in the right direction. Keep in mind, DeSantis won the state by 19 points last time, and we've got a Florida Atlantic University Main Street poll here that puts Kamala within 3 points, and this isn't including third-party candidates or anything. And I don't believe this includes the abortion being on the ballot either. So this is before all that. So there's still a lot of upside, I think, on this poll that isn't even reflected in these numbers yet. So this is another poll that came out. So it's a 5-point difference for Florida. This is a USA Today poll. This is that Atlantic University, and the reason I wanted, so the top one there with one, they all have about a little over 1,000 sample size, which is decent. But the LV stands for likely voters and the RV stands for registered voters. So if you look at that, you'll see that, and the first two involve Kennedy and the last two don't. Kind of give you an idea where where he's pulling votes from. So under registered voters, Harris is actually ahead. I'm sorry, no, Harris is only, sorry, it's a 3-point margin, but it's within the margin of error. And then under likely voters, we've talked about this, right? They view likely voters as voters that have a voter history. So any women who have registered to vote in the last 18 months are not considered likely voters. I mean, unless they're making that adjustment, which I seriously doubt, because it would blow their math up. Also, most of them are under the age of 40 and they don't answer phone calls if they don't know the number. So there's a lot of electronic barriers. between them getting the answer, enough data. So my guess is they're not even looking at that universe, and that universe is coming in a huge response to Dobbs and Roe and all that nonsense. So this is good. This is good news. Kennedy pulling 5. This is about standard for a third party. I mean, you kind of get 5 just for being on the ballot. So, and some people will just say Kennedy just to stir it up, you know. How are the others? Let's look at what was happening in May versus what's happening now. Now on my channel, there's a whole video about why they asked Biden to step down, and I compare his approval numbers, regardless of how warranted, which I don't think they were at all warranted in any remote way, because he's done a great job as president. But it's also obviously I was in the minority, painfully so. So basically, it ties up, or she's in the lead in most states, and then Trump's got +3. Now, this is interesting because we're going to look at how the Senate races in some of these states are doing, and you're going to see a real divide. You're going to see that those Democratic senators are actually doing much better. Now, that's fine. They're allowed to. I have no problem with that. But usually what the down ticket does, the ticket above will do as well. So, and all politics is local as well, as we all know. So, but this is all good news, all of it. I'm from Texas, so I thought I'd throw in a Texas poll. Anything over 45 in Texas as a Democrat, you're doing all right. Sad, but it's true. I think that the suburbs are going to be a rude awakening for the Republican Party in this state. I think they've anchored, because of population requirements for congressional districts. They've anchored a lot of those seats in suburbs, and the voter registration in some of these suburbs, especially up and down the I-35 corridor, I think those are going to be a rude awakening for definitely the state house level, could be for congressional, and I think we're going to give Ted Cruz a run for his money. Here's some Senate stuff. Ohio and California, it was just convenient to put them all in one thing. But they're really different states, and I kind of wanted to show you the difference. So Schiff is at 66%, and then you've got Brown at 53% in Ohio. Now, these samples aren't huge. They're likely voters, only 400 people, But I mean, in Ohio, that's there just aren't a lot of people in Ohio. But in California, it's a very small sample. But still, not bad. I think the Ohio numbers are within the, they're within the variable. So, it's going to be what it's going to be. Then I got this one that also kind of reiterates what we saw with when Harris took over. But this one's on the economy. And the reason I wanted to put this one up is because this is the first time I've seen this as an adult. Even though the Democrats do infinitely better with the economy, we create more jobs, we get countries out of recession. Does anyone else remember 2007 before Obama took over? Gas was like $4 a gallon in Texas. That would be the equivalent of $12 a gallon today. Yeah. So Democrats do great pulling us out of recession that Republicans dig us into. You can't even compare the job creation. You can go all the way back to Reagan. You can't compare the job creation. So yeah, and I'll do a video on that. It's extremely one-sided. So the fact that the public has engaged in this way and says, hey, Harris is going to be better with the economy. And I think the reason is because Harris worked at McDonald's. Waltz was a teacher. These people had real jobs. Trump's never had a real job in his life. His daddy gave him, a bunch of money and then died and gave him the rest of it. He's never had to do anything. He just files for bankruptcy and destroys other companies in the wake of him just moving on. So Anyway, that's my quick. It wasn't that quick, but I kept it around 10 minutes. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. If you wish to contribute to this channel, there's a PayPal. It's CLSB Politics. Every little bit helps and keeps our lights on and everything. All right. Definitely remember to like and subscribe and share this with anyone. Feel free. I don't mind the haters. I don't mind the trolls. They're out there. I see you. But I've also been doing this work for 26 years, so one could say I'm immune. All right. I'll talk to you guys. You guys have a good